Hi everyone, my name is Adam Cohen, and you're watching another episode of Business Brainstorm. I want to thank you everyone for coming again today. Today we have a smaller crowd. We have Will Hanley, we have myself, Adam Cohen. I'm going around the screen and naming myself. We have Carl Trop, and we have Chris Stanley. In the background there is my trusty colleague Mehdi Hassan in Bangladesh. I want to thank everyone for joining. Um, some of you may know me. I'm the owner of Saxon Spencer Capital. I own Adam Cohen today. We're launching some new companies right now: Smash Mortgage, Sax Cap, SXP Capital, and a number of others. They're all coming soon over this summer, and I'll be talking more about those later. I want to thank Will Hanley for being a return guest. I think three, four times now with us. So thank you very much. Will, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is William Hanley, and my background is in neurolinguistic programming, reaching back to its origin. And from my experience there, I founded Our Becoming. It's an international business coaching entity and utilizes something called the Circle of Success. We have an eight-week program built over 25 years of modeling, which is really an important word. It's a very specific method of interviewing people to find out how they did what they did. And normally they don't actually realize consciously how they worked. But we go to the subconscious and find out the strategies they used to create what they did. We interviewed Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and a dozen others. So we after we learned all of that, we created something called the Circle of Success, which I mentioned, and it's from Success Factor Modeling's interviews, which I'm a member of, and that's 5 pillars. So basically, we found out the major questions that these people that we interviewed wanted to thought were important, and we created a 5 pillar program or a business out of that. So anybody can use it. Anybody can use what they learned. Yeah, so that's basically what we do. And again, it's based on neurolinguistic programming. Thank you.
And he's explained this to me now several times. I still don't really understand it. I think one of these days, Will, we're going to have to get you on and you're going to have to explain it properly because, like, for
I'd love
me, when
to.
it comes
Sure.
to tech, I'm like, to me, I'm still trying to figure out how to use the toaster.
Sure, sure, Adam. I'd like that.
It's like I know there's a thing that goes up and a thing that goes down, but I can never find the cancel button. I always end up pulling the plug when it comes to the toaster. All right, so moving around, I'm going to just go clockwise around my screen. So we have Chris Stanley, your second time with us. Thank you for joining us again. Chris, do you want to tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. Chris Stanley, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Tech Leaders. And Tech Leaders is a technical consulting firm. We also do IT recruitment, but I'll try to explain the technical stuff in a maybe a way that you can better understand. Right now, one of the big things that we are doing currently is moving a lot of companies that are utilizing SAP ECC, which is a big old ERP system that is being outdated and retired by SAP. And we're taking those companies and we are moving their data into Microsoft Fabric and allowing them, the companies, to keep the ECC, but allowing them to report on their data because they put it into a unified platform on Microsoft Fabric. You can build out lake houses and stuff like that so that all your data is very, very well governed and it's clean and it allows you to make very, very good and precise decisions. We put AI on top of it so you can get into some really, really cool reporting. So that's a little bit about what we're doing right now.
It makes me wish I paid more attention in school. Or anything. Just like funny, I've had a Florida driver's license for like 20, I don't know, 5 years, but I lived in LA for a long time and I failed that LA highway code 9 times. 9 times. And then what I realized, just throw common sense out of the window. Like whatever is the opposite of common sense, maybe that's what applies in California. And you know something funny? I passed.
That is.
California, there we go, the same thing. Carl, thank you for being your first time on the show today. Do you want to introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do?
Be happy to. Thanks. I have been in the real estate business since about 1984, currently with the Next Tier Investors. We're owner operators. We have a couple of assets here which are in the mission critical space, which often is like an office building that contains a data center or a call center or disaster recovery. That's my day job. Since COVID, I've been investing as an angel, and I'm in a variety of different companies that I've invested in, including an AI outsourcing company, a school modeled from the School of Rock for teaching young kids and adults art rather than music. I have a consumer product in the charcoal business, some energy investments, and I came here to see about what this is about and to see if I can learn something. The companies that I'm invested in, including the real estate, they all share that they're either looking for customers or capital or both.
That's interesting. And most people know I work in real estate, and my main area of real estate is real estate finance, and it has been for I hate to give this. I know I don't look old enough, but almost 30 years. I started in real estate when I was around 18, 19, first real estate deals. My father was in real estate, and so I've grown up in real estate. But being in the real estate finance space, I get a lot of requests for angel investing, which personally I stay away from. I have a lot of friends that have been involved in that, and some of them have had some great successes, and some of them have had some inconvenient bumps, I would call it. So I think angel investing is you look for the winner. Like one of those deals is going to do very, very, very well, or one or two, and some of them are just going to be a learning experiment. And it depends on the goal. So it's not really my area of expertise. But today we're going to talk about, which is interesting because I think it applies to everybody here. Right? We're going to cover three things today. We're going to cover why new startups fell, why businesses that are doing well suddenly fell, and then we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, the possibility of another pandemic, and how that will affect business. Oddly enough, I was having this conversation today with my sister, and I actually suggested that a pandemic might actually be good for business because people are stuck and they need social media or they need other things to help them stay connected with people. So for me, I'm not rooting for a pandemic, but the last pandemic, I actually took 6 months off, but this pandemic, I feel like business has changed a lot. We'll see what happens. So let's talk about today. So it's not uncommon that new businesses fail. We understand that. But it is less common that successful businesses crash. But we've seen that lately too, Spirit Airways being a good example of that. So let's start with new businesses, and then we're going to get into existing. What do you think, and I have my opinions on this, which I'll share after I let you guys have a chance to put in your 2 cents. What do you think is the biggest reason why new businesses fail? Based on your experience, you're in HR, you're in AI, Chris is in investing. What are what do you think are the biggest obstacles new businesses face today? Go ahead, Will.
Well, I'm pretty certain it's because the ones that failed, a lot of them or most of them don't have a business plan. And if you have a realistic business plan, you know where to go and what to expect. And I think that's one of the reasons that businesses fail, is they don't have one.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just based on, some of the things that we've learned with tech leaders as I've built out their consulting practice, and we've had to reinvent ourselves a little bit since, everybody has been on this AI kick. I would say our leadership didn't, they jumped into wanting to be experts in AI, but really didn't have anything to fall back on. Like, what is if you're going to get on a call with a client about AI, they want to know, what have you built? And we haven't built anything in AI yet, but we are experts in data. And we've now brought in a partner to help us out with some of the other things that we're doing, so that we can actually learn. But instead of that, I think our leadership decided to go, well, let's go a little bit AI, let's go a little bit cyber, let's go a little bit testing and see what lands. And I'm like, guys, we're doing this wrong. I mean, this is a bad plan. On top of that, my wife and I have also got a business. Well, my wife has got the business. She's very successful with it, and she has got more business than what she knows to do with right now. But she never really put the mechanisms in place to scale the business, and it started scaling by itself. And the next thing you know, it's like she is running around like a chicken with the head cut off, because there's not enough people to handle the amount of business that is coming in. And so it's been a learning curve for her over the last 5 years, but she has really done a great job of managing it, but managing it to a point of exhaustion, where it's like, if you would have just put the plan together, make sure you're doing these things, and scale appropriately, I think it would have been a lot less stressful. But I'm not going to rag on her. She's done a great job. So she's doing very well.
You have to say that. We're eating dinner tonight. All right, Paul, we're talking about what are the biggest hurdles or handicaps new businesses face that cause them to fail. Would you have something you'd like to add?
Just my 2 cents on the question, which I characterize as, why do most new businesses fail? Is that the question?
Yes.
I think it's access to capital and burning through their cash at a rate that's not sustainable based upon the amount of capital that they have been able to acquire to get the business going. But that's just my guess.
It's interesting. So I have some thoughts, as I often do, about why new businesses fail. And I'm going to pay attention to what everyone said here. The first thing I'm going to pay attention to is a plan. Like in my experience, when I'm starting a new business, I think of every factor. Keeping in mind, I've been running my own business for something like 35 years, 36 years, something like that. I forget. I'm getting old. 36 years I've been running my own business. So name, concept, execution, cost, profit margin, scheduling, potential client, market tests, comparing their products or services to other clients, comparing the cost, how to gain clients, website, social media, the amount of time. And I'll give you some examples. So I typically start working around 6 in the morning, and I'm normally working until I go to bed, Monday to Friday. I'm a workaholic. To me, I don't switch off at 5 o'clock. I know a lot of people that work in real estate or start their own businesses, and they're like, at 6 o'clock, they're done. And I'm like, what about people on the West Coast? Then it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What about people in Hawaii? It's only midday. All right. What about people in New York who work till 8, 9 o'clock at night? Sometimes 10 o'clock at night. I lived in New York for 10 years. We were 6 in the morning till 10 at night was the average day. So I think people think starting their own business is easy, and I don't think they fully prepare themselves to test out what it is they're going to be facing. And I think that's the biggest handicap, the biggest mistake people make, is that they think they have a good idea, but they don't research it. And I think they believe that the internet, the website, Instagram, and AI, especially in this day and age, is going to make them successful. And I'm going to go with a real estate analogy. When I was a real estate agent many years ago, I knew about pocket listings. I knew about things that weren't on the market. I knew about clients that were looking things. Most realtors today will put a listing on the MLS, and they will just hope for the best. They let the computer do the work for them, and it's not a personal service. So I think personalization is very important, and I think work ethic is important. But when it comes to starting a business, there are so many. I mean, let's just talk about running a business, never mind starting a business. What are the things I have to do in my part of my day? I have to understand marketing. I have to understand legal. I have to understand clients. I have to understand vendors. I have to understand social media. I have to understand managing contracts. I have to understand negotiating contracts. I have to understand what's competitive, what's not competitive. I have what I want to make and then what I can really make. Sometimes there's compromise. Sometimes there's flexibility. There's psychology. And in a business, you have to wear many, 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 many hats. One of the things that I think people do also when they're starting a business, especially if they're coming from a situation where they're being comfortable with a paycheck, is survival. It's very hard to survive on running a business which isn't making money yet when you're used to getting a check every month. And if you can maintain that check whilst you're starting your business, it's probably advisable. But if you are going to go cold turkey and start your own business, a big mistake that people make is borrowing money, credit cards, lines of credit. And again, these bills start coming, this money goes out very quickly because it's funny, people, they start their own business. What's the first thing they do? They buy a new car, they want to look flash. They buy an expensive watch, they want to look flash. They start wearing $1,000 suits. Or if they're women buying high-end bags, and they want to look the part, right? But they haven't made the money yet. And before you know, those bills start coming in every month and they can't make the payments, right? But they look good, but they're running out of money. And I think one of the biggest hurdles people face, and they talk to these people about this all the time, is if you're going to start a business, don't do it in borrowed money. Like, the best restaurant to buy is the one that they spent $1 million on a build out and went bankrupt in the first month. All of that hard work has been done for you. Now all you do is pay your key money to walk in and open your restaurant, right? But if you're going to go and borrow that money, by the time you open, you're already so deep in debt you can't get out. So one of the things I think is the biggest hurdles that new businesses face is debt. The other thing is expecting the internet to work hard for you. And I know myself that if I post a picture with my beautiful wife, short dress, bikini, today is a perfect example, 25,000 views. But if I'm just posting me, 500 to 1,000 views on a good day. So marketing is important, but knowing how to market, what to spend. LinkedIn charges $1,200 for a single boost. Instagram charges, you can do $5, $10, $20. Right? So I think one of the many reasons why I believe that new businesses fail is the lack of preparedness for expectations, the lack of preparedness for managing debt, and the lack of making money before they're spending money. I always like to say, start small, build up. There's so many new businesses, they start big and collapse. And that's what I've seen over the years. But moving on from talking about small businesses and about why they fail in the first 3 months, why do successful businesses fail when they're already doing well? They're successful, they have an audience, they have a clientele, they've learned their market share, they know what their profitability is, they know what their costs are, they know how to avoid danger. Why are we seeing so many big companies collapse? I'm going to go the other way around. Carl, what do you think the answer is for that?
Would you be kind enough to repeat the question?
Of course,
and I will
pleasure.
be happy to open it.
The question is, why do existing and successful businesses suddenly fail and collapse?
Oh, okay. So that's a different question. And again, my guess is that there are changes in their market, the services that they're providing or the goods that they're producing, and they're not quick enough, agile enough to react to it. Sort of a combination of bad decision making and a rapidly changing environment around them. How's that?
That's a good answer. That would definitely apply to 2008 and 9 when we saw the market crash, I think. Chris, what is your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I think that that there is certainly something to be said about. I'm thinking of a few clients of mine that have gone through some very difficult times. One through bankruptcy, and they're a very large retail client. And I happen to know what what their data looks like on their back end, and it's very, very outdated technology that they're working with, which I've tried to encourage them to get up to speed on it. But I don't think they're making decisions based on accurate data at all. I think that utilizing the technologies that we have today would certainly help some of these companies. But I think that there are some really bad hires that happen out there where people are just making decisions that are well outside of their bandwidth, and it catches up to them eventually. So I think somewhere in between the human component and the lack of utilizing the technology for those that maybe are not as good at running the numbers on their business, they could be using the technology to do that for them, and they don't have it available to them. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, do you?
I think it's not adjusting to the marketplace, like Carl was talking about, more than anything. But that again comes back to having a good business plan and understanding where to go from where you are. It's adjusting the marketplace, I think, is one of the most important, why large companies fail.
All right. So I'm going to throw out some theories. Okay. Everyone can jump in. If you want to add something, just cut me off. No offense. Take it. None. All right. Okay. Let's talk about, there's a number of factors, I think, that affect ongoing businesses. And I think we have to pay attention to them. This whole concept of this podcast is called Business Brainstorm. It's about brainstorming about what to avoid, what to look out for, how we can help each other grow, how we can prevent each other from failing, and how we learn new ideas. So we're in a weird economic time. We've seen it. We have a cost of living increase, which debatably is not really a cost of living increase. I call it more of a pricing adjustment from the big corporations because they're trying to control us with financially. But again, that's my opinion. Some people might agree, some people might not. Right? We have, if we look at the cost of living increase as a whole, and this isn't just, I'm not talking about every reason why businesses fail. I'm just going to cover some issues that I feel are relevant today. All right. So cost of living increases has done certain things. On the one hand, you have product shortage because companies they're reducing supply because of cost. So we have a material shortage for cars and other products. So we're seeing less items on the shelf or things that are available, which is forcing a price up. Not everyone can afford the new pricing because they have less money to spend because of higher costs, the fuel pump, energy costs, grocery costs, car insurance costs, housing costs. All of these things have gone up. I mean, we were set up to fail. When you think about it, the cost of living has gone up, what, 40, 50% over the last 20 years, maybe more. I'm not sure the exact statistic, but the average income has only gone up 12%. So we're already set up for failure if you're relying on the income model for if you're a salaried employee. But I think the cost of living increase is definitely something that's affecting a lot of business today. And as Will said, not being fully prepared for adjustments in costs, trying to maintain sustainability on price, knowing that if you put your prices up, your customers can't pay it, right, is one of the factors that I think can lead into a successful business collapsing. Another thing that I think we miss upon is consistency. And this is written about in my recent newsletter, how important consistency is. A lot of companies get comfortable when their things are running well, when things are running smoothly. They feel everything's running well, we don't need to change anything, right? And they're not paying attention to the little things, employee change, labor law change, tax change, cost of living change. So they think everything is running smoothly. And before you know it, you have these middle managers that are think that they have a cushy job, and next thing you know, sales are falling, costs are rising, revenue is dropping. And if we look at what happened with Spirit Airways, major airline collapses, banks are collapsing, real estate projects are collapsing. Everything across the country, worldwide, there are so many successful businesses collapsing. And it's kind of hard to understand how are these businesses that are public companies, successful, 100 years in business, privately owned companies, smart people who know their industry. What is it that they are missing that is causing this massive failure? Because there's a human element, there's a corporate element, and I've often said that corporate does not pay attention to what's going on around it until it's often too late. I forget who said that, but I think that someone did mention that. And then there's the the consumer business relationship, which is disconnected. And that's causing, again, companies to fail because companies feel that they're so powerful in their position that they don't need to listen to the consumer. And the consumers speak loudly in one particular way, whether or not they're spending their dollars or not spending their dollars. And if they're not spending their dollars, and if they're not spending their dollars in your business and they go to somebody else's business, then you are going to fail. And it's very hard to avoid it. And we've seen this where, for example, a silly one during COVID, people weren't buying, what was the beer that they stopped buying? Did anyone remember? Corona. They stopped buying Corona, do you remember? Because of bad reputation. Budweiser with the Dylan Mulvaney. Right? Look at how that was a disconnect. Right? That was probably the most perfect example of a big corporation having no understanding of who their client base is. Right? Look at Jaguar. I've been driving Jaguar all my life. My dad had Jaguars. It was his favorite car. Look at how they've lost touch with their brand and with their consumers. Like Jaguar's biggest customers are middle-aged men in their 30s and 40s, not transgender, whatever you want to call yourself these days. 20-somethings. So a lot of these brands are trying to following agendas or not paying attention to their audience, feeling that they know better. How do you think this is, again, Carla, or if you're interested to chime in on that, how do you think this is affecting existing and like high-end businesses?
You said it perfectly. I'm sorry. Would you call Carl? Go ahead.
Okay, you can go ahead, Chris. You can go ahead. I can jump in after.
I'd like to hear your take because I'm not sure I understood the question.
Okay, and I can repeat the question in a minute. In the short.
Yes, you kind of nailed it when you were talking about the company not paying attention to what their client is doing. Spirit Airlines is a perfect example of that, and I think we talked about it last week. Where Spirit Airlines, I flew on there once, maybe twice, and it literally felt like I would compare it to riding in a 1952 taxi cab as opposed to having a like an Uber black car service pick you up. I mean, it's like you ride in that thing one time, and it's like I'm not doing that again. It might have been cheaper, in one form or another, but the experience that I had with Spirit was miserable. I can't believe that they lasted as long as they did. And so I don't think that, and there's a lot of different ways that companies can really get a feel for it, although it's not always accurate. But when you look at things like Glassdoor or even your Google reports and stuff like that, my wife always says, nobody ever goes and does a Google review unless they're upset. And I'm like, well, that's not really true because I've done it for my chiropractor. My chiropractor is absolutely amazing. And so I've done multiple reviews for him, and I will put out good reviews when I can. But Spirit Airlines was consistently known as the dumpster fire of airlines, and they didn't do anything about it. I mean, cheaper is not necessarily better. And so I think that it all caught up with them. But I fully believe that when the executives are not listening to the people that are your customers, they're not hearing what's being said, you're going to fail. Period.
All right. And by the way, Carl, I'll repeat the question. The question is, why do successful companies fail? All right, where is the disconnect? What is the circumstances, situational cause human AI negligence as to why a successful and well-established company who knows their client, knows their audience, knows their product, knows their deliverable and their execution, why do these companies fail? What do we, and I use Spirit as an example, but it's not the only example. And I also use Budweiser as an example. Why do you think there is this sudden collapse from corporate to consumer?
In my estimation, if you're looking for a reason why long-standing successful companies fail, you're barking up the wrong tree. I would say that for every example of turnover in the Forbes top 50 companies, Fortune 500, people falling in and out of it, that the reasons are all over the place and that there is no one reason. It could be some of the things that you've mentioned, PR result that wasn't managed properly, mismanagement, malfeasance. I mean, there's probably 20 to 100 reasons for the failures. So to try to arrive at a reason, I think is misdirected.
By the way, I agree with what you're saying. I wasn't saying there's the one reason, and I agree with you completely. There is probably 1,000 reasons why successful companies fail, right? And it's usually the most bizarre, or someone just didn't pay attention, or it could be a economic event. There are many, many reasons why large companies fail, right? And it's always
Well,
shocking. Like, go ahead.
this is like an academic study. And I'm sure that some of the major universities have gone through this exercise, taking failures and then compiling the lists as to, what the main reasons for the failure were. Probably beyond the scope of this discussion,
Oh,
perhaps.
most definitely. I would agree. I would agree. And this is just like I said, this is like a group parlay talking about things to share as business owners or entrepreneurial people that can help us benefit, help our viewers take something away. It's really kind of just a dialogue to kind of understand that the world is changing, and from smaller companies to larger companies to privately owned companies, it's no business model is perfect and no business model is foolproof. We all think that we have something that can't change, it will go on forever, it will be successful, nothing can break us, but it isn't true. Even the biggest companies can collapse. BlackRock are withholding investor payments right now because we don't know if it's because they just want to control the money, they don't want to allow for a panic. Are they illiquid? Have they overinvested? Have they used more money than they represent? Is it another Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme? We don't know. We just don't know. We can only speculate and have an opinion. And I come from England, where if you go to the pub on a Friday night, everyone is an expert on why Spirit Airlines failed. Everyone is an expert on why Bernie Madoff ran a Ponzi scheme. Everyone is what you call an alcohol expert, right? And I'm not a big drinker, but everyone is an alcohol expert. And it's interesting, the opinions, but the point of the matter is, many of those opinions could be right. Some of those opinions could be bizarre, right? Some of those opinions could be completely irrelevant. But as a business owner, and I have several companies, and my Saks and Spencer Capital has been my bread and butter business for the past 10 years. And even I have seen a change in consumer demand, a change in consumer requirements, a change in consumer comfort, and we're having to make adjustments to our programs in order to maintain client satisfaction, in order to maintain wheels turning. So there's an evolution to every business, and we have to be prepared to see that evolution, to understand it, and be able to make changes before the changes may change us. Otherwise, the house of cards collapses, and before you know it, we're saying what went wrong, what could we have done differently? Someone's knocking at the door wanting to collect money. So my main point here to all of this is paying attention to the markets, the economy, your business, to the changes, to the things that are happening now, to the things that have happened in the past that we can learn from, so we can pay attention to what's going to happen in the future, so we can be better prepared. speaking of the future, someone we all know and maybe not so love so much, a gentleman by the name of Bill Gates, has been advocating for the last couple of years that there will be yet again another pandemic. Now, the fact that Bill Gates is saying it and the WHO has said it and that Joe Biden himself said it, right? We can believe that there probably will be another pandemic because they've all said it's coming. And if you're a conspiracy theorist like myself, I believe the last one was planned and I believe the next one will be planned. Some people will agree and some people will not. Some of my best friends say, Adam, you're crazy. Some of my best friends say, Adam, you're right. No one knows. We just don't know, right? But we do know that when Big Pharma profits billions of dollars from pandemics, and they learn that through controlling us, they profit even more, the possibility of a planned pandemic is likely, and it will be used when it's best for them and not the best for us. Now, we've all been reading about the hantavirus that's been in the news lately, this little boat in the Atlantic Ocean, this deadly disease that comes from rats, place in Argentina where it might have come from, just like COVID came from bats in a wet market, which, again, no one believed. I have so many friends that said I was crazy when I said, there's an infectious disease lab literally down the street from that. Do you think it's... No. You're crazy. You're crazy. And yet, now it's widely believed that's where COVID started. So, taking into consideration a pandemic may or may not be imminent, not going to spread any fear here. All right. How do you gentlemen believe that if there was to be another pandemic now, that it would affect yourselves, your businesses, your businesses that you're invested in, and your life? Do you think we are going to see another pandemic? And are you prepared for it? And how do you think it's going to affect us this time? And we'll start with Will.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be another one, but having it predicted by Bill Gates makes me think that, he's might be right. For me and my business associates that I know, we can do our business through Zoom. So there's no reason, for us to travel anywhere. And the COVID was good for us in that way. And I don't think it's going to affect our business, just personally.
How do you think it's going to affect the economy and business in general? Do you think we're going to see more businesses shut down, people losing their jobs?
Probably the same way the COVID affected, but we can learn lessons from that. We can find it. We can see the statistics. How many businesses failed? Which ones prospered? Just using that as a model, I think could be useful.
Okay, good insight, Chris. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thoughts of another pandemic, there are going to be different businesses that will be affected. The restaurants and the retail and the retail shops that don't have a way for the people to purchase the things online. Those are certainly going to be affected and probably won't be around long. So the small retail shops, restaurants, small business owners like that would certainly be affected. I don't think that we would necessarily see the scale of what we saw the last time. I don't know. That's a tough one to really throw out there. I mean, I never thought I would see anything like that in my lifetime anyway. So to see it happen again and to watch people like Bill Gates say that it's coming, well, yeah, it probably is, because you're the one that's directing it. So yeah,
I'm not exclusively alone on that opinion. Then okay, that's good to know.
Oh man, it's that was I don't trust anybody that has got that many billions of dollars, and I certainly don't trust who. So yeah, if they're going to do it again, sure, there's going to be some businesses that will fail and some that will thrive. Our business, I I could do my business. We drive around in our RV and I do my business from the road. So, I don't need to be at an office or at a client site. I do most of my meetings like this anyway. So, we really aren't affected as much, but, there's going to be things that are unseen that I'm sure will come into play.
Carl, what are your thoughts?
First of all, thanks for having me today. I'm going to have to drop after sharing this thought with you.
Thank you for joining us.
I enjoyed the discussion. The first thought is, I think that there have been plagues and viruses throughout human history. I think that it is inevitable that there will be others. It's not like we put a stop to it. Although we have made great strides in medicine and we can now hope to potentially curb them sooner and more effectively. Second part of your question, I hope that it doesn't happen in my lifetime. I'm old enough where I can skip having that happen again. Third of all, how it affected my business. Real estate business was decimated. It's still recovering, if it will recover. In fact, I don't know how retailers who had to close for 3-4 months, many of them did not recover. I don't know how any of them survived. Office business has been decimated. A whole new category of statistics for return to office had to be created because the office is emptied out and they have yet to fill back up again. So while I am not as pessimistic or paranoid that COVID started in a lab, which I think is what you are suggesting, or that it was started by the pharmaceutical industry due to a profit motive, I think that it's inevitable it will come again. And I share plenty of your cynicism in other areas.
So we're like-minded people here. That's good.
Yes,
by the way, but I know you have to jump off in a minute, but we are looking for people to join our podcast, which is a one-on-one conversation with me. I think you and I would have a good conversation. Will, I've already invited to you. You said you would let me know when you're ready, and the same with you, Chris, as well. If anyone here would like to have a one-on-one, 1-hour podcast with me. Now, I say 1 hour. I had Frank Torchia on last week. Now, I've known Frank for quite a few years, and our 5-minute warm-up conversation lasted for 40 minutes, and our 1-hour podcast, I think, lasted for 1 hour and 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But it's because the target is 1 hour. If you would like to do that, if you could just shoot your contact information into the group chat here, I will reach out to you directly with an email request to invite you on my podcast, because I enjoy speaking with like-minded people, and we can cover real estate, angel investing, finance, pandemics, point of views, and many other things. And you can share that on or all of you can, when we do it on your social media. You could, bury it under the closet and say, I can't believe I said that, but it's going to be on my YouTube channel. And it's the conversations I've had with people so far have actually been really great. I've really enjoyed doing each and every one of them. And the funny thing about the podcast is I give you like 4 or 5 questions that you get in advance, but I allow my guests to ask me one random question at the end that they don't have to tell me in advance. So my response is completely from the hip, shoot from the hip, as we say in my country. So if you'd like to participate, yep.
Adam, I exist to entertain you. Have a good afternoon. Okay.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, Carl.
Nice meeting you all.
All right, thank you. Nice meeting you. Nice guy. I hope he comes back. Anyway, what was I going to say? So we covered all the important subjects. There's a little bit of a shorter conversation because we had less people. But anything you guys would like to add on the subject matter that we've covered today?
I think that every business is a little bit different. And the ebbs and flows of the decisions that are made. There's so many different reasons why some of these companies succeed and why they fail. And myself, being in the IT world, I do look at it as, from the point of view of, it's amazing the data that you can get now, and the things that you can have AI put together and decide for you to be successful, hopefully, in your next steps. I think that it remains to be seen how well that's going to work. But it's certainly, data is data, and if it's clean and it's good and it's true, then, and it's well governed, then you should be able to make really solid business decisions out of that. Now, not every company is able to have all those tools at their disposal. So, I think back to my college days and some of the guys that I know, or I knew in college, that now run businesses and are wildly successful, but were totally just you never thought that they were gonna make it, through a revolving door, and they're wildly successful, and you're just like, I mean, sometimes it's just the relationships that you build along the way. Sometimes it's the technology that'll help you advance. I mean, I think Carl was kind of, on the right track, where it's like, there's so many different nuances to succeeding and failing in business that, you've got to, I think, open your mind and look at all of the things that are available to you, and pick the ones that you think are going to help you along the way, and go from there.
I agree. Will, do you have any final thoughts?
I appreciate the group, and I really appreciate you, Adam. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm just learning fantastic information from you guys, and I appreciate being here.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you for coming multiple times. I spoke with Jeff Ackerman earlier. He couldn't make it today, but I'm sure he'll be back, and he's going to be on our podcast next week. And Judge Lewis has enjoyed and will be back again. A lot of the people that have been here are enjoying it. Not everyone can do it every week. I struggle to make it sometimes. I'm like, final email, final text, final get this out. But the point of the matter is that we are learning how to understand different opinions. There's many things going on in the world. There's so much that can affect a business. It's good to talk about it, and it's among friends, among fellow entrepreneurial minds, business minds, professional minds, to learn and understand that the world is changing, and we can learn from the past, we can learn from the present, and we definitely have to plan for the future, because dangerous people, powerful people are planning our future for us. And if we let them, they will win. We need to be prepared to stay ahead of the game. We need to think about, and again, these will be future conversations coming up, digital IDs, how that will affect us, digital currency and digital, is it called? The central banks, the digital currencies, the restrictions they want to put on our money, how long you can have it for, what you can spend it on. Have you had a vaccine that allows you to do it? Is that going to affect our employees? Is it going to affect us as business owners? How limitations, we're seeing censorship on social media worldwide. AI is definitely taking a lead in many ways, but is this good or bad, and how will it help us? We need to be prepared for all of these questions, and only through talking about them are we going to understand other opinions, other people's mindset, what we need to watch out for, what we might be over concerned about that may not be a reality. And we need to understand what is going to come at us next, because Spirit Airways was a successful airline and it collapsed. Budweiser was probably the most successful beer in the United States. One bad marketing campaign destroyed it. Jaguar was the car of elegance. Now nobody wants to touch it. These are multi-billion public companies making awful mistakes. If they can make those mistakes, we can make them too. We need to pay attention to each other, listen, learn, grow, and not be frightened to say something that sounds crazy, because it might sound crazy to us. And then we realize that, hey, we're not the only one with that crazy feeling. Maybe someone else shares it. And the government, the Twitter, Facebook, Google, they want to censor us. They don't want us to have freedom of speech, freedom of opinion. They want us to follow the narrative that they set. That's the lesson they learned from COVID. It's the lesson we're going to have to fight against in the next pandemic, which unfortunately is coming soon. Is it this week? Is it the hantavirus? Is it going to be another virus? But I tell you something, that because they made so much money from it and they can control us with it, the only thing I can guarantee you is that it's gonna come, and it's gonna be soon. It's gonna be sooner than we might like. And this could actually be the beginnings of the next pandemic. And only the next few days and weeks will tell. But when we start seeing the news and they start saying there's mass panic and people are dying, the mainstream media will be all over that. And we need to think about, well, how do we prepare for our businesses for the next pandemic? Because what we did last time may not work again next time. On that note, I want to say thank you very much to Chris and to Will for joining us, to Carl who had to jump
Thank you.
off. All right. Business Brainstorm is brought to you by Adam Cohen today and our Business Concierge program. Some of you may know, but I might be in the top 0.1%, if I want to, the 0.01% of LinkedIn. I have 34,000 followers, and just today alone, I got 25,000 views on a single post. I've learned to control and manage and perpetuate through LinkedIn. We have a great new service for $4.99 a month. We can help you grow your LinkedIn connection base. We can help you generate 1,000 leads a month to help you make more money and grow your business and be more of a recognized entrepreneurial superstar in your industry than you may be today. If that is something of interest to you gentlemen here, to those of you watching at home, please reach out to myself or my team, and we'd be happy to tell you more about that service so we can help you grow your business on LinkedIn. And we are now offering all social media platforms, and we can talk about that as well. Being a standout icon in your industry is what will ultimately make you successful, which will also help you navigate challenging times when they come, because when people know you, they gravitate to you first. And that's what's important in business, being first. Right. Thank you everyone for watching. My name is Adam Cohen, and you've been watching Adam Cohen today and Business Brainstorm. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Bye.